We now invite you to join us for part 7 of the rebroadcast of the live conference with Supreme Master Chen Hai, titled Humanity's Leap to the Golden Era, Washington, D.C. Climate Change Conference on November 8, 2009 in Washington, D.C., USA.
Our final speaker is Dr. Peter Carter from British Columbia, Canada. Dr. Carter has been a family physician for 30 years. He is also the founding director of the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment and a climate policy advisor for Canadians for Climate Action. He is also a vegan. Please welcome Dr. Peter Carter.
So when I was a boy growing up in England, I just remember watching the speakers that when I was getting behind in my jobs, my father used to say, "Peter, come on, you better leap to it." So maybe this is a message that the whole world is being given here by this wonderful conference. First of all, I would like to thank you all. The room, the huge ballroom is packed. I want to thank you all for coming out here. Okay, from the bottom of my heart, and the reason is this. We hear increasingly that global climate change is the greatest threat to the survival of civilization and indeed humanity, but that's not quite right. The greatest threat is the denial. Okay? The denial is huge. There are powerful forces behind it, still confusing and misleading people. So you people coming out and showing that you are breaking through the denial yourself and you're facing the reality of what we all face and our children is the best news there is and the best hope there is. So you can see what I'm interested in and what I want to share with you today, which is the zero carbon emergency response. The golden era, which in fact we have no choice but to leap to it, the golden era is the zero carbon era. That's what the scientists are telling us. There has 3 essentials that we have to achieve, and we can achieve these 3 altogether. First is what most people call renewable, but it's perpetual, you see, perpetual non-polluting zero carbon energy. We live on an energy planet. All right, so this idea that we have to carry on poisoning our planet and ourselves with fossil fuels is just absolute nonsense, and we've known it for decades. Second, sufficient zero-carbon, non-polluting food for all. And as you've already heard, this is eminently achievable as long as we switch the way we produce our food and we are more wise in the food that we choose to eat. Third is that we have to create world peace. So we have a lot of converting to do. We have to convert our energy completely. We have to convert our food production and diet completely. And we have to convert the militarization of the world completely. We can do it. How do we get there? Because we have to leap at it, and we have to leap at it all together. So in actual fact, we are very privileged to live at this time, because we get to realize and create, in actual fact, a sort of eternal dream of humanity that you can find throughout all civilizations and all cultures, which is this yearning for a golden age. Okay? It's been a dream before, but now we can actually make this happen. We, as Ban Ki-moon said, we have all the resources to deal with and get over climate change. The only thing we lack, as he said, is time. We are in an emergency. So the idea of deep peace has been around for a long time, and all the religions and all the cultures also have this idea of deep peace. So I want to stress this. We're not going to get to this golden era. We're not going to make this conversion of our agriculture and our fossil fuel energy without abandoning this hostility which we've inherited generation after generation after generation. Okay? We're spending $1 trillion on armaments still. All right. I remember working against this in the peace movement, in the 70s and 80s. And I believe, yes, we did save the planet from destruction by nuclear holocaust, but we face another one now. And this time we have to change our world to save our Earth. There's something missing, obviously. We all know how bad this is. So there's some missing ingredient in how we deal with this at our political levels and everything. Well, the first is the denial again. We've got to face the situation. We've got to open our hearts, face the fear, okay, and say to ourselves, okay, we're not going to let this happen. Yeah, it's really terrible. It's really scary. So that's the first thing. Well, obviously, we have to have a compassionate culture. We have to create a compassionate culture, as the Dalai Lama and all the spiritual leaders, indeed, Supreme Master Ching Hai says is the essential. I often think that the greatest invention of humanity is our ethics of compassion. This was actually invented, right, by ancient cultures. It's the most essential invention that we ever came up with. We have to get over this hostile competitiveness, which is our perpetual war economy. We have to convert this, Nicholas Stern in the Stern Commission explained that global climate change is the greatest market failure ever because we think it's fine to make war all the time and prepare for war and not worry about all the damage which is being done to the planet. By the way, Sir Nicholas Stern, I was very glad because he's sort of one of my climate heroes. I thought the Stern Commission report was great. So I think last month he made a statement to the media that he said, I think people are going to have to become vegetarian to save the Earth. Well, that was very good. Well, guess what he did last week? He made another statement, I'm vegetarian. Okay, so, hey, good for you, Sir Nicholas. This conference reminds me of a conference in Columbia University in a special edition by Scientific American back in 2005 called Crossroads for Planet Earth. Of course, it's humanity which is at the great crossroads. And the theme of the conference was the human race is at a unique turning point. And will we choose to create the best of all possible worlds? This is still an open question. All you people here, I know, have made the choice. We have everything we need to create this best of all possible futures. But if we don't get engaged, if we don't address it, if we don't look at it, by default, we're leaving the worst possible world for our children and all future generations. And nobody wants to do that. So a few reports here. 15th of September 2009, I was immensely proud of my medical profession when they issued a special open letter in the Lancet and the British Medical Journal, September 2009, addressing the issue head-on, saying that failure to agree to a United Nations climate deal will bring a global health catastrophe. And that was signed by the presidents of 18 of the world's professional medical organizations. That really did my heart good, of course, to get that news. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, for your sensitivity, your broad perspective, and for encouraging all of us to take immediate action.
It looks like if we want to save our planet, we will have to change our lifestyle. An organic vegan diet would definitely resolve many of the problems our world is facing today.
Yes, it's getting easier to be a vegan. More and more restaurants are offering vegan options. There are even chains of vegan restaurants being opened up around the world.
So it's becoming easier to make the change. And speaking of being able to make changes, we are pleased to present two incredible contortionists from Mongolia.
Narangwa Dolamsaran and Hungarzul Tianadov are talented artists who are currently performing with the world-renowned Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas. They have won several awards, including the gold medal at the 2006 International Circus Artist Competition in Latina, Italy. For our conference this afternoon, they have prepared a magnificent performance called Swan Dreams. Please give a warm round of applause to Narangwa and Hungarzul.
That was just amazing. And they look just like swans. Let's give them another round of applause. These incredible young people from Mongolia.
The beauty of that act reminds me of Supreme Master Ching Hai. Out of her loving oneness with all animals, Supreme Master Ching Hai has penned 3 international bestsellers: The Dogs in My Life, The Birds in My Life, and The Noble Wilds. While she was writing The Noble Wilds, Master Ching Hai became acquainted with a family of wild swans and was able to communicate with them telepathically. She discovered that swans have noble qualities that exceed most humans.
One day, the mother swan told Supreme Master Ching Hai, "We do not have to use verbal language. We communicate in silence. We do not need to talk about love, harmony, and peace. We live in them. In other words, swans simply exude unconditional love."
Now, getting back to our topic of global warming, let's find out how some cities around the world are taking concrete steps to halt climate change. We will now hear from their leaders.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Falcon. I'm director of the City of Cincinnati's Office of Environmental Quality, and I'd like to send my greetings to Supreme Master Ching Hai and all of the participants in this conference. The City of Cincinnati has adopted a Green Cincinnati Plan, which is the city's climate protection action plan. What we did is we got together a large cross-section of the community, both leaders of the business community, labor community, and nonprofit organizations, and had them help us identify things that could be done in Cincinnati that would reduce our contributions to global climate change and at the same time improve our local environment, improve our local economy, save more money than it costs, improve public health, set out to achieve all of those objectives simultaneously. What we found, and we're very happy to find, is that most of the things that we would do to reduce climate change are things that we had good reason to do anyway, that did save more money than they cost, that did improve local public health, that did improve the local environment. One example of a recommendation in the Green Cincinnati Plan is to encourage residents of the city to eat less meat. And not only does eating less meat significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions, it also helps people be healthier, helps people save money, does all of those objectives. So a lot of people making personal decisions to alter their lifestyles to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, including by changing their dietary choices. So I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to participate in the conference this afternoon and for sharing the experience of Cincinnati and our efforts to reduce climate change and help people move towards a diet that contains less animal products.
Our thanks to these dedicated statesmen for sharing their success stories. We appreciate and laud their noble leadership.
Hello, I'm Dr. Peter Carter. I'm from British Columbia in Canada, and I'm really, really happy to be here in Washington, D.C., in your wonderful capital, in this great, fabulous conference. The interesting thing is, that when somebody has a heart attack, they change, okay? So we've got to learn to make the change, before awful things happen to us, and this is what we have to do with the planet right now. It's a sort of leap in human consciousness, if you like, to think ahead, to be caring and responsible in a good way for our health, the health of our community, and the health of the planet. It's all rolled into one thing. That's the really great thing about this. The best possible health for ourselves, the best possible health for our planet and the future for our children is all the same thing. There have been no other conferences on global climate change anywhere, apart from the odd academic conference, but no conference in which people are invited to come together and look at the issue and solve the problems than these Supreme Master International Organization conferences. See, they're the only one, okay? So this organization is really in the lead and is setting the example to follow. And I applaud them. All that we have to do is get involved, get engaged, learn about it, okay? And then learn about the things we can do, pass on the good word, pass on the good news, right? That the change, the leap that we can make is the healthiest future and the healthiest us possible. Watch Supreme Master TV because, I thought I was pretty good keeping up with the research. Okay, but I'm really upset because often Supreme Master TV are ahead of me. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
Global climate change has always been an issue that I've been worried about, but I never had very much information about it. And so it was great to be able to come here today. I always knew that the meat industry had an impact on our climate, but I didn't realize, for example, that 18% of greenhouse gases is a result of the meat that we eat. And so I'm really going to take that home with me. I'm also going to consider how much dairy I eat. And I also wish that other people could get this information, because I think that if they knew more about what was told today, they would change their diet as well.
Be red, go green, save the planet. Conference rocks.
According to a 2009 report from the World Watch Institute, animal livestock and their byproducts account for at least 32,000 million tons of carbon dioxide, or CO2 per year, or 51% of all worldwide greenhouse gas emissions.
All information concerning the scientific evidence of climate change and its solution is in Supreme Master Ching Hai's book, From Crisis to Peace, free for download at crisistopeace.org.
Esteemed viewers, we appreciate your presence today on Words of Wisdom.